All right, welcome, my friends. Welcome. This is week 3, week in review. And before we get started, a quick shout out to some really awesome people who 47 years and 9 months ago today created a legend. You're welcome. Also, cheers to your mom and dad, because my mom and dad are awesome. And I hope yours are too. Rest in peace, mom. All right, now that we've done that, let's go ahead and get started. Week 3 was, of course, our big grasshopper round. I should have had the grasshopper round thingy on here, but I didn't do it. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. First with the standings. We saw a couple of big jumps here. Namely, American Industrialists jumping up 4 places into first place with a total cumulative VP of 31. They are now sitting at 1 win, 1 loss, and 1 draw. And they are followed closely by the Davian Golden Suns and the Luthien Dragonborn at second and third places. Only a couple points separating the 3 of them. And of course, then we have the Lyran Debutantes and the Canopian Honeybees in 4th and 5th. The Crows coming in at 6th. And the Nationals and the Spirits tied for 7th. And then, of course, the Wolverines and the opposition at the bottom. The other jump that happened this week was the Dover Crows jumped up a bit. And the Torian Nationals jumped up 2 spots since they finally got their first win of the season. And of course, my favored expansion team still without a win. 0-3 is what they're sitting at, as you can see here on the board. Let's talk about kills. I haven't been tracking how much of a change there was. One thing I noticed this previous week was that there were multiple kills by the intern pilots that were in the Grasshoppers. So these numbers haven't changed a whole heck of a lot. We do have the Dragonborn, the Debutantes, and the Golden Suns all tied for first place with 5 kills total for the team. And then the Crows and Industrialists are tied at 4th place, I guess. 4 kills apiece, followed, of course, by the Honeybees, the Spirits, and then the other 3 at the bottom, the Wolverines, Opposition, and Nationals. 1 kill apiece. Leading the leaderboard for kills individually, Clift from the Debutantes with 4, Rickstad with 3, Suzuki with 2. Those 2 in particular, however, were drafted. Rickstad and Suzuki, they were drafted, so they won't be on their respective teams moving forward. So eventually, I'm sure they'll be dropping off as these pilots here get more kills racked up. One thing that I've been watching, of course, is the wealth and growth, or specifically the growth and wealth. This table is sorted by the amount of growth since the beginning of the season. So far, the Dragonborn are sitting at the top with 44 wealth gained, net gain, that is. And then, of course, the Industrialists sitting at 40 growth, currently at 71. Golden Suns currently have 81, but they've grown 36. And, of course, down at the bottom, we have the Remoran Opposition, who this week is the low man on the totem pole. Hopefully that's not offensive to anybody. And I just realized I meant to turn the camera off for all this part. Let me do that now, just to get it out of the way so you can see the whole slide. It'll make a difference here shortly. Anyway, so yeah, keeping an eye on the growth of wealth through the season. There are a couple of teams in dire straits financially, and that would be the Wolverines, who are currently 0-3, and the opposition that is, I believe, 1-2, sitting very low in the numbers for wealth. It's going to make things really hard for them to move forward if they can't keep their mechs up and running. For obvious reasons, if you don't have a mech, you can't put a team on the field. Let's see. Next, we have the draftees. We still have the Debutantes, the Wolverines, and the Dragonborn all sitting at having lost 3 people from their teams. The Debutantes and the Wolverines having lost 2 pilots and a technician, and the Dragonborn losing a pilot and 2 technicians. Now, this one in particular hurt really bad. The Rickstad brothers. There was Rickstad, I want to say David and Chris. One was a pilot, the other was a tech. For multiple seasons now, they have been something of a duo, and they were really good, skills and experience and all that, and they were both drafted out this past week. That is going to be a bit of a hammer blow for the Luthien team. Everybody else is sitting at basically 1-1 except for the Spirits, who have only lost one pilot. And of course, the three teams on the bottom, the Nationals, the Crows, and the Honeybees, have yet to lose anyone. And for the Honeybees, that's actually kind of a surprise considering their current record, the state of things. Let's talk about the individual teams, starting with the Canopian Honeybees. And hopefully I'm not distracted too much by my silly cat, who is currently doing cat things. The Honeybees this week. Oh, I forgot to update their total record. Oh, son of a gun. They're actually 2 wins and 1 loss now. During the Grasshopper round, the Dover Crows just put on an amazing and explosive match. I should say that the Honeybees and the Crows put on a really good match. And there goes my cat being all meowy. The Bees put up the best fight they could, but it just wasn't enough. There was a bunch of encirclement going on. There was some armor sharing going on across the Crows' mechs, and it just proved ultimately too much for the Honeybees. On the other hand, it went right up until the last minute before the match finally went officially in favor of the Crows. So the Honeybees, they went down fighting. So don't discount them based on the fact that they lost. I've totally forgot to update this that part of the slides. I updated all the other stuff in the slides earlier and forgot the one thing at the top of each one of these. So that information is going to be a little bit off. Let's see. Golden Suns, 2 wins, no losses, and a draw. Still technically undefeated. They dominated the Spirits. The Spirits started off with an early advantage as far as a lead in points, battle value percentage-wise, that is. But once the Golden Suns, basically, once they found their ground, they didn't let go. And the Spirits went down. They went down pretty hard. There was a couple kills in that match that ultimately helped the Suns out. Dover Crows, again, we just talked about these guys a moment ago. Now 2 wins and 1 loss. Just a stunning match. I personally am surprised that my son, who is the manager for the Crows, pulled off some of the moves that he did. This was at least twice he had the Honeybees circled. I'm still stunned by it. It was just a wonderful match to watch. It was just incredible. Unexpectedly brilliant tactics, and basically keeping the Bees off balance almost the whole time. All right, Luthien Dragonborn. Very much a strategic cat and mouse game when they went up against the Lyran Debutantes this week. Some very careful maneuver and very much sudden strikes. As I recall, there was also a number of strikes that missed, but more than enough made it through. Coming down to the very end, but the Dragonborn came out ahead on points and ended up winning the fight. It was literally the difference between killing a light mech and killing a medium mech. That's what really separated it at the end of the fight. Again, another entertaining match to watch. Speaking of the debutantes right here, both teams were cautious in their approach. As I mentioned, the debutantes scored an early kill, taking out the Dragonborn Spider. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough, as by the end of the match, the debutante's Phoenix Hawk was killed. And of course, that was the difference for the points. So the Dragonborn are now 3-0, and the debutantes are now 1 win and 2 losses. American Industrialists, again, the updated information, I missed the top of each of these slides, but it is now 1 win, 1 loss, and 1 draw for the Industrialists. Big win tonight, or this week rather. They are back in force with their heavy energy focus, and they utterly dominated the opposition into submission. In fact, as memory serves, and I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, please let me know, but I'm pretty sure only one other match, maybe. I think it was the Golden Suns match. I'm not 100% sure. But this was the only match where the winning team killed the opposing Grasshopper and kept their own Grasshopper alive. And this, for the case of the the American Industrialists, really worked out incredibly much. That's really poor grammar. It worked out really well for them. They scored 21 points overall in this match and went from only having 10 cumulative to having 31. And this is why the Industrialists are currently at the top of the leaderboard for the overall league standings. It was almost a raffle stop, to be totally honest. But they took a few good hits, but they gave out a lot more. For more in opposition, this is a team, frankly, that my cat is going ape shit right now. Dude, chill out. Uh, the opposition is a team that, frankly, I kind of wanted them to be able to pull off more, but this year, not so much. They're currently sitting at 1 win and 2 losses. I know what it says at the top. It's wrong. With this loss against the Industrialists, they are now sitting at the bottom of the leaderboard. And if you notice in the slides previous to the team slides, they're in the bottom of basically every category that we're tracking. And they've got a long road ahead of them if they want to get anywhere other than being at the bottom. They got a bit of a climb ahead. Rock City Wolverines, another team that I really wanted to do well this season. This is the Michigan connection. Me being raised in Michigan, and the Rock City, of course, is Detroit, Michigan. But unfortunately, like many Detroit-based teams of virtually any sporting franchise, the Wolverines are not doing well. They went up against the Torreon Nationals, and frankly, I thought the Nationals were going to lose. Big surprise, the Wolverines lost. The Wolverines put up a fight, of course, but ultimately, the Nationals got the better of them, severely damaging a couple of mechs that caused 1 or 2 forfeitures of those mechs, and ultimately that's what led to the Nationals winning. Cyan Spirits. This match started off relatively well for the Spirits, going against the Golden Suns that we talked about a moment ago. But just ultimately, the Spirits couldn't keep that momentum. And the Suns basically gained it, didn't let go, and beat the crap out of the Spirits at the end. The Spirits are now sitting at 1 win and 2 losses for the season. And then lastly, we have the Torreon Nationals. As I mentioned a moment ago, shocking probably the entire Inner Sphere, the Nationals pull off an upset of a win. Now if they can hold on to the momentum and keep pressing forward, they'll have a better time of it the rest of the season, and maybe even silence some of those doubters, myself included, frankly. They are now sitting at 1 win and 2 losses. That was a bit of a surprise for me. I kind of thought the Wolverines were going to get it, but here come the Nationals just laying down some fire and forcing 1 mech, possibly 2. My memory is not working very well in that regard, but forcing a mech or 2 out of the fight and ultimately gaining a victory over the Wolverines. Based on our current standings, this is what our bracket projection looks like, and this is the first time we're seeing it, so I'm going to explain this a little bit better. I've mentioned kind of offhandedly in the last few weeks what our postseason is going to look like. So we have a total of 9 weeks of regular competition. Each team will face every other team in the league. The top 6 are the only ones guaranteed a spot in the brackets. Now, granted, given this graphic here, it looks like everybody's going to be in the brackets, period. And I get that. The bottom 4 teams, 7, 8, 9, and 10, will be facing each other in order to get into what we can otherwise consider to be the brackets proper. As you see, currently, the Spirits and the Nationals are tied for 7th, but we're going off of, one team being slightly better than the other. I don't know. There's really no way to call it. I just kind of arbitrarily place the Nationals on one side and the Spirits on the other. The winner of those 2 matches in the preliminary rounds will be seeded into the regular brackets, giving us our 8-team single elimination tournament. Every week, I'm going to update this slide to reflect the current standings. For those that like to gamble or, guesstimate who's going to finish where, based on, what the rest of their bracket looks like, have at it. I'm sure there's a couple of number crunchers out there. I'm sure there's a couple of hardcore, well, this team does this, so this is what's going to happen kind of people. And that's absolutely wonderful. That's absolutely fine. I'm not knocking it in any way. I just figured I'd put this together to kind of give you an idea of what the season looks like. The postseason will look like, not just for my players, but also for the viewers. The players, this is the first time they'll be seeing this as well, even though I have discussed briefly a few times what the end of the season is going to look like. So now that we talked about week 3, let's go ahead and take a look at week 4 coming up. And of course, these records are correct. Week 4, we've got the Remoran opposition hosting the Davion Golden Suns. We've got the Torian Nationals taking on the Cyan Spirits. That match will be streamed live. Of course, all these dates are yet to be determined. I have to sit down and figure out what my schedule looks like over the next couple weeks and give my players some time slots. And once those time slots are chosen, then that match, the Nationals versus the Spirits, will be selected, and that will be streamed live at twitch.tv/Omar Krieg, of course. Following that, we've got the Dover Crows taking on the Merrick Industrialists, and we've got the Lear and Debutantes taking on the Rock City Wolverines. And then our big player versus player match this week is the Luthien Dragonborn taking on the Canopian Honeybees. And that's going to be an interesting match to watch, not just because of the PvP, but because role-playing wise, Darius Matamuri has zero problem saying some of the things on his mind, and he has a low opinion of Luke Labrador based on our current ongoing storyline for Mr. Labrador from the Magistracy of Canopus. Olaf's predictions. Of course, I'm the guy playing Olaf. Here's what I'm looking at. Opposition versus the Suns. I'm going to go for the Suns all day long. The opposition seems to have lost their fight, and if they pull off more than a single kill in this match, Olaf is going to be surprised. When we look at the Nationals taking on the Spirits, it's going to be the Spirits. I think the Nationals win in Week 3 was simply a fluke. It's not going to happen again. I am utterly amused, and the best part about this is the Nationals will be the home team, and generally speaking, I do well against the bot. Not always, because that's how the Nationals won. Anyway, I'll get into that. Actually, no, let me go ahead and explain it. So, when it's a GM team taking on a GM team, I take on the home team and play against the bot. The bot, of course, being the away team. I played as the Rock City Wolverines against the Torian Nationals. The bot ran the Nationals. I ran the Wolverines. I lost. I don't always win against the bot. It's a safe bet that I'm going to, but not always. You can't guarantee that. Anyway, long story short, Olaf says the Spirits are going to win because the Nationals have sucked repeatedly, year after year, and that the Nationals winning in Week 3 was simply a fluke, and it's not going to happen again. Dover Crows taking on the American Industrialists. The Crows have some moves. Olaf is not ready to give up on the Industrialists yet, though, and he's calling it's going to be a win for the Industrialists, but it's probably going to be close. We'll see how that turns out, because that, of course, is another fight between me and my son. Moving on, we've got the Debutantes taking on the Rock City Wolverines. This is definitely going to go to the Debutantes. I want the Wolverines to win, but, you know, as a GM, of course, I want my players to win, and I go out there and I give them as hard of a fight as I can, and whatever happens, happens. But being totally honest, the Debutantes have a more well-established team. They've got a new management. When you look at the role-playing side, everything about this team sounds and smells of turning around and getting themselves on the right path to the postseason. And the Wolverines are new, inexperienced, and they've lost their first 3 matches. This could be the match that breaks that streak. Who knows? It probably won't be, though, according to Olaf. And then lastly, the Dragonborn versus the Honeybees. This is Darius taking on Luke. Honestly, out of character, I'm favoring the Dragonborn out of character if I had to predict. But when I say that, I don't want it to sound like I'm snubbing Luke, because that comment was on the last Week in Review video. Here's what I'm looking at. Darius is a hell of a player. Luke is getting very good. I think based on those 2 facts alone, I'd have to lean towards Darius. Now, Darius also has a couple of advanced mechs, and the Canopians only have 1. Looking at numbers there, it's leaning towards the Dragonborn. Olaf's personal opinion, it's tough to call. He wants the Dragonborn to win, or excuse me, he thinks the Dragonborn will win, but there is something about the bees and their charisma that makes him want the Honeybees to take this match. So honestly, Olaf is torn. He thinks it'll be the Dragonborn, but he wants it to be the Honeybees. That's really where it lays down at. So we'll see how that works out. And I think that's my last slide. That is my last slide. So let me go ahead and turn my camera back on. Spend a moment talking about whatever. That is it. Actually, that's all I got for the Week in Review. For my players, time slots will be thrown out into Discord in the next day or 2, so you guys can start planning and scheduling your matches. Hopefully we can get something started this weekend even. So far, we are 3 weeks in out of about an 11-week schedule, I think, if we include the postseason. And this week took slightly longer than the previous weeks, but that was also because I can't fight Mother Nature. When Mother Nature wants to do something, I can't really do anything about it. There was a hurricane off the east coast of the U.S., that interfered with some of our timing, and these things happen. It is what it is. Nothing I can do about it. In the meantime, my friends, as always, stay safe. Make sure you're doing what you got to do to take care of you and yours. And as for me and mine, I'm going to enjoy the rest of this beer. Maybe even have another one. And then, I don't know, I'm probably going to play Starfield or something. I don't know. Have a good one, my friends. Stay safe.